You are listening to Inside IASB, a podcast series dedicated to informing and encouraging Illinois School Board members. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Isaac Warren. I'm the Director of Digital Communications at the Illinois Association of School Boards. And with me today, I have Shelly Miller and Matt Wells from the Midwest Trucker Association. So thank you guys for coming on the podcast, and looking forward to talking about our sponsored program that we have with IASB. Just to get started, could you both briefly introduce yourselves and your roles at the association?
Sure. My name is Matt Wells. I'm Vice President of Midwest Truckers Association. Been with the organization 15 years now. My responsibilities take me a lot of different directions, but I'm responsible for a lot of our legislative activity, capital, our national policy issues, dealing with government agencies, handling member concerns and complaints, farm trucking regulations, logbook, hours of service. I'm kind of a jack of all trades here at the association when I'm not working at the Capitol.
Great. And I'm Shelly Miller. I'm the Drug and Alcohol Program Manager for Midwest Truckers. I've been with them for about 5 years now. Did a little bit of an HR stint there for about 10 years prior to this. But what I do for the association is manage all of the random drug testing consortiums and answer questions, manage a staff of 4. We've got a great program, and I'm chomping at the bit to get talking about it.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for introducing yourselves. And before we get much further, I think it's important that we kind of talk about what the Midwest Truckers Association does. And could you explain the connection between trucking and public schools? Because I feel like that may not be a very clear connection to someone maybe isn't familiar with this work.
Yeah, I'm happy to kind of help with all those lines of connection. Myself, as an actual school board member, one of the biggest functions you do as a school is provide transportation for those students back and forth to the school every day. And because of that, many of the vehicles that you utilize are considered commercial based on the number of passengers and the physical size of the school buses that are operated by school systems. So that connection there is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which regulates most all commercial truck traffic and passenger vehicle traffic, has regulations set aside for every type of organization or business in the United States. And because of that, you fall under our umbrella of trucking. And, although there are different sets of rules for, 80,000 pound semis operating on the road, there's a very unique set of rules for passenger carrying vehicles, typically carrying passengers over 15 persons. So that's where the connection lies, is that we provide a number of services for all types of commercial trucking operations, from passenger carriers to commercial freight. So that's how we end up getting tied together, is because of those federal regulations and state regulations that require schools to maintain a level of safety for their students and in the operation of their school buses or student transportation devices. So that's kind of how we all end up falling together in the same scenario, and the services that we provide become useful to schools.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks for providing that context. I think it's really important. And again, I think when someone looks at Midwest Truckers Association, like, how does this apply to school districts?
Right.
But I think, it makes sense explaining it like that. And kind of talking about the consortium, what is the Drug and Alcohol Testing Consortium, and how did that become an ISB sponsored program?
So following back up with my first comment was, because of federal motor carrier regulations, school bus drivers are required to be part of a random drug and alcohol testing program that that is managed by Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Roughly, they're the ones that provide the regulations. This came about around 1993, is whenever they put out the drug testing consortium requirements for commercial vehicle operators, and obviously school buses fall under that window. Midwest Truckers came together and developed a program, our drug testing program, to help not only our members, but also the school systems and anyone that operates commercial motor vehicles to comply with this. At the time, was one of the most onerous regulations ever imposed on the trucking industry. So we created our drug testing consortium to provide a guidance system and a service that allows schools and truck operators to be able to manage their drug and alcohol testing program within the confines of the regulation set by the Federal Motor Carrier Standards, which are constantly evolving. And that's one of the beautiful things about our program is that it is constantly updated with the federal regulations as they change and evolve. So we worked out our consortium program, and we can get into the details of how that works a little bit farther down the line. But then we took our program to a number of other state associations that we worked with that we knew had commercial vehicles, and schools was one of those. And that's how we started. I want to say back around 1996, I believe, is the first time. Right after we got our program together, we started approaching the other associations and saying, "Hey, you don't need to try and create this. We have a program that is designed specifically to assist all of these commercial truck operators." Hence, that's how we started our program with the Illinois Association of School Boards, is because every school district has transportation or had transportation that they manage. So they needed to have that consortium. They had to have it. It was a federal regulation. So our consortium, and Chili will get into some of those details, it was a great fit for the School Board Association. So here we are today, some almost 30 years later.
Yeah, that's a fascinating history and rundown of how this all kind of does bleed together. Things that you don't feel like might affect a school district. Suddenly it's like it all kind of ties together in the end. You kind of alluded to this already in your answers, but why? It seems self-explanatory, right? But why is this program so important for school districts in Illinois, especially when it comes to student transportation safety?
I'll touch on that one with probably two major answers. One, it's federally required. So you have to do it, period. And two, you know, student safety is of the utmost importance for any school board. Myself as a school board member, we want to ensure our students, our children who we're putting on these buses are being operated by people who are responsible, who are out under the influence of any drugs or any substance that could affect their ability to navigate or operate that commercial motor vehicle that's carrying, as far as I'm concerned, our most precious cargo, which is our children. So, it's really kind of it makes absolute sense that you have to do this to ensure that. And, I want to clarify, it's not that the drug consortium is trying to weed out the bad apples, because it does that. But what it does do is it helps those who are driving who may have a health condition and they end up taking a drug that could truly affect their performance as a commercial motor vehicle operator. And this will help prevent them from operating, because many times it's not intentional by any means of a bus driver, because they're wonderful people to give, to do this. Who wants to be locked in a vehicle with 50, up to 3 to 4 hours a day?
Yeah.
So this is also a really great safety net to ensure that, somebody that may have been put on some type of, a drug or substance to help them live healthy could actually affect their ability to operate that vehicle. So, I think it's imperative that every school have this, not only, for their school bus drivers, but even a workplace policy that puts them into a safety net, knowing that the people around our children are of sound mind and able body to be able to do the job they're required to do.
And truly, let me just interject.
Sure.
Truly, drug and alcohol testing is a safety program. It's a safety program. It's a deterrent for individuals to, stay away from drugs or they'll lose their job, kind of a deal. So it is a safety deterrent in any organization, whether that be drug-free workplace or the federally required testing programs.
Yeah, these are perfect distinctions to make. And I think it was really good emphasis on, yes, this is federally required, and we want people who are of sober mind to be driving our children around, but it's also a very proactive way to make sure no one's accidentally doing this. I didn't even think about that, honestly. So I think that's a really good way of just staying ahead of it, and you don't want to accidentally put yourself or children in danger without even realizing it. So yeah, this is a fantastic program just to be proactive and have, like I said, the safety nets is awesome. You mentioned that, again, it's federally regulated. So how does the consortium help school districts stay compliant with the federal and state regulations?
So we offer many different ways. The main priority there is to get them into a random drug and alcohol testing program that is compliant with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's regulatory requirements. They have minimum standards.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 50% testing of the testing pool or the consortium for drugs, and then 10% of that pool for alcohol. And Midwest Truckers Association, our consortiums meet, they exceed actually those minimum standards. So when you're in the program with us, you know that we're going over and above what the federal regulations require. In addition, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the FMCSA, they've come out with a program called the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, and that came out January 6th of 2020. And this program is mandatory for schools to participate in. It requires the school to check to see if any of their newly hired drivers or existing drivers have acquired a drug or alcohol violation. And that was never in place before. They used to have to send out pieces of paper to previous employers over the last 3 years and hope, cross their fingers, that they would get back something that says that they did not have any, violations. But now they have it in this database, and it is amazing how it's kind of changed the face of people hiding behind their violations and trying to get around it. So yeah, they run those. They have to when they hire a new person, they have to put this person through this online database, and they find out whether or not they have violations, and they have to do it annually for every one of their drivers to ensure that they haven't received a violation at any point during the year, maybe working for somebody else.
Oh.
So we offer that kind of a management service. We have on-site mobile drug collection individuals that go to the schools and they test their drivers on site. There is really no need to go to a clinic. And we offer that. We're kind of unique in that way. We have, contracted relationships with a bunch of different on-site mobile collectors. We will assist any school if there was any audit that would happen. We would just automatically just assist them with whatever information the auditors require. We have a 24/7 post-accident and reasonable suspicion line. So if there's anything that happens after 4:30 in the afternoon, you call our office number and we are there to assist you through that post-accident situation or reasonable suspicion. In addition, we do offer training. I recently just started offering designated employer representative training. We right now do it on an annual basis. And that is the person that manages their drug and alcohol program at the school. And it's like a 6-hour class, and you come and you learn about everything that you're responsible for on the school's behalf. And the federally required reasonable suspicion training for supervisors. Anyone that supervises drivers must have this training. It's a 2-hour training, 1 hour on drugs and 1 hour on alcohol. So it is required that they are able to produce a certificate of completion if they are audited. So, oh man, and the list goes on, but yeah, we offer a variety of services, and I have a staff of 4. You call and we will take care of you. Anytime you call in, we love to talk to our members and our associate members.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like a really dense offering of services.
Yes.
And really good. It sounds like they're getting a lot of bang for their buck. I mean, and you already answered this question, I think. I guess, could you give us a high level bullet point list of what a school district receives the minute they join the program?
They would get random testing, drug and alcohol testing. They have access to order pre-employment, post-accident, any type of federal testing from us. We have on-site mobile collection services. They come to your site to do the testing. We have post-accident and reasonable suspicion 24/7 assistance. And we offer the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse program management service for them. Any assistance with any audits? I think that's pretty much a bullet point list. Do I forget anything, Matt?
No, I mean, and I think the greatest feature, whenever a school signs up with us, is they're instantly going to get answers to the questions they can't seem to find answers to.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes around, how am I supposed to manage my drivers? What's required of me? many times a person who's put in charge of the transportation for the school, sometimes, especially if it's a smaller school, sometimes has no experience with this. So just knowing they have that resource to pick up the phone and say, am I doing this right? Is there something else we need to do? They can get those answers instantly from us and have confidence that they're right. I mean, we work with over 25,000 drivers in our consortium program. So this is not something we take lightly. This is a very big part of what we do. And we are absolutely 100% the mind that we don't make up answers. Too many people's lives and livelihood depend on the answers that we give. So we make sure we give the right answers anytime someone has questions. And I think that level of comfort and confidence when they join our program has been something that, you just can't replicate anywhere else.
Yeah, and thank you both for your answers on that because it shows two sides of a coin where you've got a ton of excellent services and offerings, and on the other side of the coin, you're not just paying for the services, you're also paying for the expertise and the knowledge of the people who understand and can communicate effectively answers to the school district that they need to know right then and there. Could you share a success story or example of how the program has made a difference for a district that's participated in the program?
Oh, sure. We've got a number of schools that take advantage of just more than our federal testing requirements.
Hmm.
They take advantage of drug-free workplace. For those that don't drive and as a vehicle that's regulated by the FMCSA, maybe they're driving a school van or a vehicle. So this is something that's smaller than what the FMCSA considers a commercial motor vehicle. We have drug-free workplace testing that they can enroll those people in just to make sure that their van drivers aren't violating, aren't using drugs or alcohol when transporting our precious cargo.
Hmm.
And in addition, they do student athlete testing. So we have we have a number of schools that are using student athlete testing, and this can be done with oral fluid testing, or it can be done with urine testing. For them, I mean, this is their school policy, and we're able to support what they need. I create policies as well. So if you don't have a drug and alcohol policy that meets the federal motor carrier guidelines or a drug-free workplace guideline, we have them. We will take care of that for them.
And these are extra services, the drug-free workplace and the student policy that we really don't advertise those hard, although we do share it with a lot of our schools when they join that we have the ability to do that. And many of them have taken advantage of being able to just make us their one-stop shop, so to speak, for any of their drug testing requirements because they've got a familiarity, they've got a consistency, and they have that experience to work with and know that it's going to be done right. So these are, and we have a number of schools. I think we have over 350 schools that are utilizing our programs today.
Wow. Yeah, that's very impressive. And Shelly, you had an answer that kind of hinted at this question as well regarding training and support. Could you go into detail about what kind of training and support MTA provides to school administrators and transport staff?
I would say that the designated employer representative training is of the utmost importance for those that are managing those drug and alcohol testing programs because it goes, I think we're there for like 6 hours together. We have lunch, but it goes through every requirement, record keeping, it talks about what forms to use. It talks about our laboratories, our medical review officers, and just any federally regulated requirement that the school needs to know about while managing that program. And then I mentioned the reasonable suspicion training for supervisors. We do have a video that we can actually provide to a school to train their supervisors, as well as in-person sessions during the year. And then, I've done a lot of one-on-one training. I'll come to them if they really need me to come talk to their drivers or need me to, if it's a larger program, I'll come and present any information that they need to know about. I'm pretty flexible about that. And we're there to help our members and anybody that's struggling with the regulations. So anything, even over the phone, I'll be there.
Yeah, that's what we need. The personal human connection is just something that is of super high value when it comes to programs like this.
We attend the Illinois Association of School Boards, conference every year in November up in Chicago. And, it's so funny how I'm standing there and I'm like saying hi to everybody. And they kind of look at Midwest Truckers Association and they're like, what is truckers? Why are truckers there? And I'm like, come on over and talk to me. So if you're there this year, come on over and talk. We can talk what our services and stuff as well at the show. So
Yeah, that's exactly what conference is for. It's those networking connections and the opportunity to meet folks face to face you might not otherwise do so. And yeah, at the exhibit hall itself is just amazing to see, and we're always happy to see them, Midwest truckers down there. So we know that state and federal laws, they just change all the time. And it feels like it's just hard to keep kind of up to date on what's going on. There's how do you keep up with changes and regulations, and how are those updates communicated to districts when they need to be?
So that's kind of my wheelhouse. I'm constantly monitoring legislation that's introduced either at the federal level or at the state level that affects schools and school districts specifically around their transportation services or needs. So as we monitor those, we obviously advocate and alongside Illinois Association of School Boards. I work with them quite a bit and their legislative team at the Capitol and making sure that, we don't come up or the state doesn't come up for onerous regulations. We all know that schools get enough mandates the way it is, let alone if we get any more transportation mandates. So we're constantly working with Illinois Association of School Boards at the Capitol, in DC. But one of the things that we're doing as far as communication is improving, and within the next couple of months, we're launching a new database program, which will allow the schools to interact with us a little bit more, and for us to send specific communications out to, just like schools, like, hey, here's some changes that's coming up with the schools and our primary contacts with those. So we're really excited to be able to start doing kind of a newsletter or broadcast out to do that. But we've always done guest articles in the Illinois Association of School Boards, communications to their members. You've probably seen something from Don Schaefer, or maybe even myself over the years that we do write-ups. I know Shelley's wrote a few that we passed along. So we try to share that communication with IASB whenever we can, but we're going to soon be able to have a more direct, like if there's changes that happen and the schools need to know about it immediately. And, we're starting to see that happen more often at the federal level. The feds are making changes quicker than they ever have in the past. So that's this new tool, this new communication process that we'll have through our database will be very beneficial to the schools.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, keeping people informed and up to date with the latest going on to the state. I mean, again, it's just stuff that's just not everyone is going to be aware of. Just make sure they have a way to get that information is just super critical. So I'm glad that there's a way that folks in the program can get latest news about what might be changing down the road.
And Isaac, if I could add one thing.
Yes.
In addition to what Matt does, I go to different conferences every year. Some of them are Substance Abuse Professional Administration Association meetings, National Drug and Alcohol Screening Association. So I'm there with every mode of transportation you could imagine, and their program administrators, and they're talking about the regulations. They're talking about what's coming. They're giving us updates on oral fluid testing. They're teaching us things about the regulations that we might not know. So I'm constantly being exposed to information about the change in regulations. So
excellent. Yeah. That's again really good. Again, it's the importance of being informed and up to date. It's just especially with something like this, it's super important in terms of safety for our children. What advice would you give a school district that's maybe unsure about joining the program?
Call us. I mean, it's the easiest way because so many times, we'll take an email. That's fine. Every school district is unique. It has a unique set of circumstances or needs. The best thing I can tell you to do is just go to our website, look us up and get our number. Call and ask for Shelley, myself, anybody in our drug and alcohol staff, and just ask. I mean, that's because, at some point we'll be able to answer all of those questions related to this. And a lot of times they don't come out until you start having that conversation. So that is ultimately the easiest and fastest way is just grab a phone and give us a call or shoot us an email and we'll call you at your convenience.
Well, when you're using Midwest Truckers for your your drug and alcohol testing program, you're getting the stability of a company that's been around for 60 plus years. You're getting convenience, just making that call, sending in emails, dropping a fax over to us. We're there for you, even 24/7 for those awful situations with post accidents, or when you have a reasonable suspicion of a driver being under the influence. We've also got on-site collections. I mean, there's not a lot of third-party administrators like us that have their own contracts with these on-site collectors. And when you've got flexibility in scheduling, I mean, you can call your collector, you can, take care of scheduling, or if you can't make that work, we have a clinic too you can go to. So there's so many reasons, but you know what? They need to really call and talk to my people. My people are amazing, and they will take care of them and answer any questions. I just encourage everybody, if they're using a clinic for their testing, what does that clinic actually know about the regulations? Ask yourself that question. Probably not as much as we knew.
We run into that a lot. I mean, I'll be honest, the typical school that comes to us has been using their local hospital or local clinic to do their drug collection. And, at the end of the day, either they found some information or heard from somebody that, they needed this or they needed that, and they realize they're not getting it. And they're not going to get that from the local hospital or clinic, because the local hospital and clinic are trying to be something for everybody. And we're something specifically for this very regulation. That's what we do. So we make sure it's done and done right. And almost everyone we get, and Shelly can tell me if I'm wrong, but almost every single school we get was using a local hospital or clinic, and they just weren't happy with what was being done there. Or they realized they weren't getting the full services to meet the regulations that are required.
Or their clinic was shut down by the DOT because they weren't meeting minimum requirements.
Gotcha. Yeah. So lots of reasons to come to the Midwest Truckers Association with your needs.
Absolutely.
These are the folks that have, they're a sponsored program at ISB for a reason. They know what they're talking about. And the convenience of shooting an email or a phone call, just getting all your answers answered that way is just incredibly helpful. And I'm sure hope a lot of districts will take you up on your offer and reach out with the questions that they have and get on board with this program. Well, Matt and Shelly, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and discussing this excellent program with us. I'm sure our listeners really appreciate it and are looking forward to learning more if they haven't already gotten involved with this program.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast, and thank you for your dedicated volunteer service to public education. If you would like to stay up to date with future episodes, please consider following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or your platform of choice. Have a comment or question? We welcome listener feedback and invite you to send us an email at communications@iasb.com. Thank you.